talk about a classic uh, contrasting style battle between Minnesota, who I think the forward pass was introduced about 10 days ago, maybe, to the Minnesota football team. Mitch Leidner went 2 for 9 for like 20 yards in the first half. But and on paper, you would think, how is this team going to how are they going to deal with this passing attack of Luke Falk? And how are they going to generate enough offense to keep up? But the over-under in this game was like 64, and I was like, really? Minnesota's not going to – they can't score 64 points against themselves in practice. But they went out there, and after the first drive, it was like – and if you're aware of the suspension issues, they lost the starting safety. They lost 3 cornerbacks who fill in prominently in the rotation, so they're not necessarily starters, but they play a lot. I looked up their stats, and they're getting 30, 40 stops for the season, so they play a lot. So they were missing personnel in the worst possible place you could miss it, and they pull off this upset against Washington State, and it was just pretty fascinating to watch. I don't know if you had a chance to see that game at the Holiday Bowl.
I saw bits and pieces of it, but I think it's a testament to the fact that no matter what offense you run, no matter how many tricks or gimmicks or whatever you want to, or wrinkles or whatever you want to install, at the end of the day, the game is won or lost on the line of scrimmage. And if you can't win the line of scrimmage, you're probably not going to win the game. And that's true if you have a bunch of 3 stars like at Stanford, or if you have all the 5 stars in the world like at Alabama. If you don't win the line of scrimmage, you're going to get beat. And I will say also, Washington State's air raid requires a lot of timing and rhythm. And so when you take a long break like that and they're not playing every week, it really can hurt them. But credit Minnesota, they won the line of scrimmage. And if you do that, you're going to win football games.
I'm going to take this opportunity, Nick, to celebrate Minnesota just a little bit more, because I just pull for the underdog, and I pull for the misrepresented out there, or the lack of representation. And another thing I found fascinating was they lost their center just minutes before the game. He's a senior captain, counted upon, line calls, the whole deal. So they not only get these 10 guys suspended, mostly on defense, their top punt and kickoff returner as well. They lose their center right before kickoff, and they had 6 false start penalties. Now, not necessarily were all those attributable to the center not being there, but I think some of them were, and they overcame that as well. It was just a yeoman's effort for the Golden Gophers. And my simple logic going into this game and Minnesota holding it close, Nick, was that they played 4 really good teams in the Big Ten that they lost to. The 4 losses that Minnesota came in with by 1 score, to Penn State, to Wisconsin, to Nebraska, to Iowa. And I didn't think Washington State necessarily matched those teams. So how is Washington State going to beat them by 2 scores? So that was my logic going into the game, that Minnesota was at least going to keep it close.